All right, welcome everyone to this class in the Book of Leviticus Chapter 15. Again, I want to welcome everyone. Holding by the Book of Leviticus Chapter 15. Chapter 15, verse 16. I think that's where we are. We're gonna finish up this verse. Last week spoke about dreams, spoke about what happens when a person's asleep, different aspects of the soul, how it all works. Kind of interesting type of thing. Spoke about last week. So again, I want to welcome everyone holding by the Book of Leviticus chapter 15, verse 16. We didn't quite finish last week. So the Torah tells me, the Torah tells me that, as we mentioned, find it here, that I'm talking about a man who had an emission of semen shall immerse his entire flesh. Oh, that was the problem. Right, we're speaking of what's the difference between this and any other, in a zav, or a ziva, where there's discharge, but you don't have to immerse your entire flesh, right? Normally, the Torah says you immerse in water, but it doesn't say your entire flesh. It only says it by this. So, right, we spoke about that for a while, and you remain impure until evening, right? And you remain pure until evening. So says Mar Rebbe, Arav going to Moshe Torah this should be well. And it brings down his commentary in Chumash Tam V'das. And it brings down from Gemara and Eruvin. Gemara and Eruvin 4b tells me the person goes to the mikvah. Right, person goes to the mikvah, you cannot have a barrier, right, between the flesh and the body, right? So if a woman goes every month, she's going to be with her husband, can't have any, we spoke about this, can't have any barriers, right, between her body and, in the water. So here Rambam says, I want to give you a very deep insight. He says that's a hint. He says a hint over there, we're going to say it's not simple explanation, but he says a hint. What's the hint? He says if a person goes to the mikveh, they immerse, or they go to a spring, or the ocean, wherever they go. Let's say if their body is dirty, their flesh, right, is dirty, so going to the mikveh is not going to help. Not going to help, because something like that would be considered, as we've spoken about before, something like that is considered a barrier. So a person who goes to the mikveh and has a barrier between themselves and the water is no good. Even, he says, a minimum amount, even a small amount. Now, what's it compared to? It's compared to over here, Tovu b'sheretz biyado. Now, what does it mean, Tovu b'sheretz biyado? It's as if he goes to the mikveh, now he's pure, but he's touching a dead animal. Right? He's got a creepy crawly thing, dropped dead of a heart attack. Right? It's dead, but he's in the mikveh. So he's alive, but he's pure. Went through a process of purity, right? A purification. So very good. The only problem is he's touching a dead body, right? A dead animal. So therefore, when he's touching the dead animal, purification doesn't help. Totally doesn't help. I remember when I was first on Tanakh Talk talking about, my life story and dealing with converts, potential converts. But one of the questions Wim Hall asked before I blew up his system was, can a person convert, and still believe in JC? Right? So I use this example. It's like someone go to the mikveh and holding on to a dead rodent. The mikveh, the ocean, whatever it is, purifies, right? The process of purification. But if you're holding a dead animal, right, you're touching a dead animal, purification doesn't help. Right? All the purification in the world. You can do cannonballs. I don't know. You can be in there for an hour snorkeling. Right? Not that big of a space. But you can be doing all these things. You're still impure. So, a person wants to convert, or even as an odd, where they don't have to convert, right? You can't believe in JC. Can't believe in idolatry. Right? So my Rebbe here says, even though you're in the process of purification, doesn't really matter. The fact that you touch something impure, purification is nullified. It's nullified over here. Now, the Rambam, he brings down the Rambam at the end of the laws of mikvah, the laws of mikvah. It's got a whole bunch of chapters there about what constitutes a mikvah and all that. Now he says, the Rambam says, when a person has intention to purify himself, once he goes into the mikvah, he's pure. Even if he doesn't, even if there's nothing new in his body, right? He's not making any novelty over here in the body or in the mikvah, right? Seemingly what the Rambam says, and this will need clarification, right? What does the Rambam say over here? The Rambam's telling you, all I need to do is have pureness of thoughts. If I have pureness of thoughts, when I have intention to purify my body, right? Maybe that's enough, but obviously not. Because he says that should be my intention when a person goes to the mikvah. Now, all the purification in the world, in a person's mind. Now, we're going to speak about this, right? In a person's mind, purification of the mind is going to be pretty important, right? 100% is going to be pretty important. But at the same time, all my pure thoughts going to the mikvah, if I don't go to the mikvah, or I don't go to a body of water, it's going to purify myself. It doesn't matter. All my thoughts in the world don't matter. I need to go through the process of purification. I have to go to the mikvah, right? But says the Rambam over here, I still need pureness of thought. I still need intention over here. What's the intention I have to have? Minimal intention. What's minimal intention? Minimal intention, I want to become pure. That's it. That's all I need. Then I go into the mikveh. Person goes into the mikveh. They get purity. Right? They get purification. Also, if a person has the intention to purify himself, purify his thoughts, purify his heart from impurity, right? From impurity of bad thoughts, right? So we know, or if you don't know, you find out now, and that is that a korban olah, a sacrifice that was a total burnt offering. That's what an olah is, the burnt offering. A total burnt offering, what did it atone for? A burnt offering atoned for bad thoughts. You're going to say, but I didn't do any action. I didn't do anything wrong, right? I didn't act on that bad thought. Okay. So normally you're going to say, don't you say all the time, Devarim shebalev eino devarim. Words of my heart don't mean anything, except when it comes to idolatry and immorality. That if a person in their mind said, JC is my God, but he didn't spell it out, he says it in his mind, he's liable. He'll be liable. Jews certainly will be liable. But he didn't bow down to an idol. You didn't smell the incense. You didn't do any of these things. You're still going to be liable. A person has immoral thoughts, but they don't act on them, but they still have immoral thoughts. They're also going to get punished. There are certain things. There are a few things the person may get punished for their thoughts without acting on them. Right? Nonetheless, you have bad thoughts. right? You had a bad thought. You thought about it for a little bit. You didn't just try and get rid of it. You sat there and thought about it and thought about it. That's what we're talking about. Because if a person had a negative thought, had a bad thought, and they're working out just to get rid of it, they don't want it in their mind, they're fighting hard, that's a different issue. Popped into your mind. Okay. That you don't necessarily need repentance for. That you don't need atonement for. But if a person, had a bad thought, whatever it was, and you thought about it some more, that's a different issue. Right? That's a different issue. So he says, so Rebbe here says that a person wants to purify himself from bad thoughts. Since he agreed in his mind and he agreed in his heart to separate from these negative things, is as if to say he's already reached a level of impurity. Level of purity. Now, there are certain things that obviously that's not going to help for. Why do I say it's not going to help for? Because you see over here, I have to go through the purification process. Right? A person had a discharge, you got to go to the mikveh. You got to go to a body of water. You got to go to a spring. All the pure thoughts in the world don't matter. Did I get purification? No. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, right? We're saying over here, having purity of thoughts is a good thing, right? There's no question, but that doesn't mean it's purification. If a person sins, and I get this a lot, people will say, Rabbi, I'm more Jewish than most Jews. So why do I need to go through the process of conversion? Why do I have to go in front of 3 rabbis in a mikveh? Because that's what we do, right? That's what the rabbis tell us we have to do. You have to go in front of a base. Yeah, but I'm Jewish in my heart. Well, that's beautiful. Did you convert? Did you go through the process of conversion? Forget taking classes. Did you go through the process of going before 3 rabbis and converting? No. So it doesn't matter what's in my mind. It doesn't matter what's in my heart. And I would tell people, well, that's beautiful. You can still eat treif. You can still eat shrimp. No problem. You can do all kinds of other things because you're not Jewish yet. Doesn't matter what's in your mind, right? Doesn't matter what's in your heart. Oh, but you tell me over here, right? That's why we're going to harp on this a little bit. You tell me over here, what about purification of soul? What about purification of my mind over here? If I purification of my mind, isn't that 90%? Isn't that 90%? So we say, yeah, that's worth a lot. That's worth an unbelievable amount. There's only one problem, right? As we said before, did I go to the mikveh? Did the person go to the mikveh? No. Even better, did they bring the sacrifice? Did they bring the burnt offering? The burnt offering we mentioned before atones for what? Atones for bad thoughts. So you can say, okay, I purified my thoughts, purified my mind, had all this intention, forget Kabbalah. I have all this intention, purify my heart, purify my soul. Everything's beautiful. There's only one problem. And it's the major problem. What's the problem? Did I bring the sacrifice? No. If I didn't bring the sacrifice, do I get atonement? No. But what about pureness of thought? What about my pureness of thought? Says the Rambam over here, and we're going to make an inference here, very simple inference. What does the Rambam say? He says, once you have intention in your heart to be purified, right, to purify your body, since he goes to the mikveh and he dunks, and he does his cannonball, and he's got the rubber ducky, and all that, so now he's pure. But you need both things. You need purification of your mind, right, of your thoughts, of your heart, plus I need to go through the action. I need to go through the purification process. If I don't go through the purification process and I think all these great things, these high lofty ideals, and I'm working on myself, working on, keeping my heart strong, proper intention, purity, all these great things, that's, holiness, beautiful. But I'm still lacking the purification process. I didn't do anything over here. I shouldn't say I didn't do anything. I didn't purify myself in this case. Why not? I didn't go to the mikveh. I didn't go to the spring. I didn't go to the ocean. I didn't purify myself. I did everything else. Purified my mind, purified my thoughts, my heart. I worked very hard. That's beautiful. I still don't get full atonement. Right? I don't get full atonement over here. Similar thing, a little bit. That is, what if a person sinned man against man? Sin against man. You have remorse, you have regrets. You promise you're never going to do it again. You go through all the process of proper repentance. You come to Yom Kippur, you fast, beat yourself on the chest a bunch of times. Very good. You go through the purification process on Yom Kippur. One problem. The problem. What's the problem? You didn't ask forgiveness from the person you spoke badly against. So you could go through 50 Yom Kippurs, 70 Yom Kippurs. Doesn't really matter. If it's the sin between man and man, when do I get atonement? I get atonement on Yom Kippur if the person accepted my apology. If I didn't apologize to the person, I have to go. Then it doesn't matter what I do. Doesn't matter how many Yom Kippurs I go through. Going through Yom Kippur, it's a good thing. Fasting is a good thing. Problem is, I didn't do what I was supposed to do in the purification process, in the repentance process. Since I didn't do what I was supposed to do, doesn't help me. My thoughts are very good. I have all the right intention. I didn't follow through. I didn't do what I was supposed to do to get purification. So again, people are going to say, which I've heard many, many times, people are going to make the claim, why do I have to go through this process of conversion in front of 3 rabbis, a rabbinical court, all this and all that? I'm more Jewish than most people. I'm a Jew in my heart. I don't need it. I don't need it. And let's say they have the requisite knowledge. Let's say. Right? But there's also a mitzvah to listen to the rabbis in every generation. This is what they tell you to do. This is what has to be done. Doesn't matter what's in your heart. Because there's a Talmudic dictum we already explained. Words of my heart mean nothing. Right? It's all about action. So what do I care what I think? What do I care what's in my heart? Like someone once told me, they said, yeah, someone keeps kosher inside their house and they eat non-kosher out. They said, yeah, halavai, their dishes will go to heaven. Why would I care you do it in your house? You got to keep kosher, true. And outside, you don't. I can eat whatever I want outside. They call that keto. What's keto? K-I-T-O. Kosher inside, treif outside. That doesn't work. Totally doesn't work. Either I keep kosher inside and outside. All right, I keep kosher inside. That's worth something. I'm not going to say not. What about what you do outside? You'll say, no, I eat fish. It's okay, I eat fish. I'll go to a non-kosher restaurant and eat fish. Really? Is there kosher meat there? Yeah. Is there meat there? Yeah. They cook it on the same grill? Yeah. So it's straight. Grill used within 24 hours? Most likely. Right? We could nitpick, how bad it is. Right? But we're not going to find too many leniencies over here. The grill is straight. Grill 100% is straight. So now it's been used within 24 hours. If the grill's been used within 24 hours, all the juices of that treif meat is on the grill. You put your fish on there, it's absorbing from the meat, from the treif meat. So what are you doing? No, but I ate fish out. It's a kosher fish. It's got scales and fins, not a problem. Okay, so what? If I cook it in non-kosher juice, meat juice or a non-kosher grill, it's not kosher. That's it. No, but I'm more lenient. I'm conservative. I don't care what you are. Doesn't matter what you want to call yourself. The meat isn't kosher. The meat's not kosher. Your fish isn't kosher. That's it. There's no way around it. So, it doesn't matter what a person thinks. We can think all kinds of things. It's about what we do. It's about action. We need pureness of thought. We're not saying not. You need that also, no question. But at the same time, what would I say? What would I say? I mean, not me. That's what the Rambam says. He says you need pureness of thought. You have to have intention when you go to the mikveh to become pure. And then you have to go to the mikveh and become pure. All my intention in the world worth nothing if I don't get purification. If a person thinks about doing something, interesting enough, by the status of a mitzvah, a person thought about doing something, doing a mitzvah, you get credit, even if you didn't do it. Problem is, what if you started doing the mitzvah, you didn't finish? It comes along, I think the Medrash Talmud says as well, that a person who starts a mitzvah doesn't finish. What's the punishment? Punishment is you bury your wife and your kids in your lifetime. They're going to say, I don't get it. Why is it so severe? You tell me if I thought about doing the mitzvah, I get the credit for doing it, even if I didn't do it. But here I started to do the mitzvah. If I started to do the mitzvah, what's the problem? What's the issue over here? The issue is because the mitzvah wasn't that important for you to finish. So basically what you're telling God is you're spitting in his face and saying, yeah, it is important, but I dilly doubt. I didn't think it was really that important. Right? That's what you're showing. You're under onus, maybe. You got delayed, something came up, an emergency, this, that. So what's the bottom line? You start a mitzvah, you finish it. That's the bottom line. You start it, you finish it. You don't get distracted. Right? They might say, well, it's better just to think about doing the mitzvah. It's, Judaism is about action. Philosophy, good. We can study philosophy till tomorrow. Till the next day, throughout our whole life, trying to understand how God runs the world, all these different things, all these esoteric things. That's very good. But a person's going to live, they're going to live in a world where they're not going to do anything. Because, a person might think, okay, I'm going to go in this airplane, but how can I go in the airplane? I have to learn thermodynamics. I want to know how it works. I have to learn physics. And it's going to take me years to do that. And then what are they going to tell you? Either get on the plane or get off. Forget about thermodynamics. Forget about physics. Right? If you think about it, you're never going to get anywhere. Doesn't mean we don't have to understand things. Doesn't mean we don't have to delve into things. But if a person thinks too much into things, you're not going to do anything. That's the point. But over here, I need two things. I need proper thoughts, proper intention. Right? At least the bottom line, I need intention to become pure. Right? I have to have that intention to become pure. At the same time, I then have to go become pure. I have to actually go to the mikveh. I have to go to the spring. I have to go to the body of water, whatever it is, right? The ocean, whatever, in order to become pure. If I don't do that, all my intention, I can have all Kabbalistic intention. I can have unbelievable intention over here. And what's the bottom line? I can still eat treif, right? If I'm a non-Jew, I can still eat non-kosher. Not a problem. Why? Because I didn't do it. I didn't go to the mikveh. I didn't finish the process. If I didn't finish the process, person doesn't finish the process, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how long you've been keeping mitzvahs. Right now, this might sound a little bit cruel, right? But I want people to understand, bottom line is, does not matter one iota what's in your heart. Now, there are people out there probably have Jewish blood. They can't prove it. Right? A number of people have come in contact with, okay, they probably are Jewish. They can't prove it. Good. But they still have to go through, right? They might have to go through a stringent conversion, which, is a lot easier than have to really starting from scratch and all that. Okay, we'll cut them a certain amount of slack, but you still have to do it because there's a doubt over here. And because there's a doubt, then we have to turn over the world to clarify the doubt. But what about someone who says they're Jewish and you believe them? Yeah, we believe them because we don't have any reason not to believe them. Unless there's some sort of other information, right? Unless there's other information we don't know about, that now comes to light, that calls a question into their Judaism. If it calls it into a question, so now we got to verify, is it really a question? Does the person have to go through conversion or not? But why are we going to do that? If a person says they're Jewish, we should believe them. In general, that's true, right? Unless there's something there that is a red flag. And if there's a red flag, then you have to investigate. And if you find out there's a doubt, there's an issue, that's what you have to do. Then you might have to go through conversion. But in general, if I don't have any issues, skeletons in the closet, let's call it that. You don't have any skeletons in the closet, then we assume the person's Jewish, there are no issues. That's our assumption. Once something comes up, and now we have a doubt over here, now it calls into question the person's Judaism, that's a different issue. Right? That's a totally different issue. So, like I said, it might sound a little bit cruel over here, right? But again, I want people to understand that, we need pureness of thoughts. We need pureness of heart, and we need to do things, right? Process of conversion, kashrus, Shabbos, prayer, like these things have to be done. Person has to know how to do it in order to go in front of a rabbinical court, in order to convert. Plus, obviously, moving to a Jewish community. So that you have to go through the motions and do it, fine. But you could go through the motions, do everything. You don't finish the process, you didn't finish. Right? You want pureness of thought. We're not saying that. We want our hearts to be in the right direction. We don't want to be misled. We don't want to go astray. We want to do the right thing. But there's certain criteria. And if a person doesn't meet the criteria, then they didn't finish. Right? It's all about finishing over here. People think that's where everything ends. Let me just get to the finish line. Let me move to a community. Let me go. Let me get to the finish line. That's only the beginning. Right? People think, oh, once I finish, that's it. No, that's when the real learning starts. That's when, I always say, that's when you need guidance, the most. You need guidance all the way through, not saying not. Right? But after the facts, once the person's already converted, that's when you need the most help as well. So, my Rebbe there then says, okay, we're talking about pureness of thoughts, pureness of heart, plus going to the mikveh. Because going to the mikveh is pretty crucial over here. Nonetheless, he says that in order to how do you get pureness of heart? How do you get the garbage outside of your head? Right? Whatever that garbage is. He says that a person has to have pureness of body, pureness of soul. They have to separate themselves from impurity. Right? They're going to go through a process over here. They're going to get fixed up. They're going to become pure by going to the mikveh over here. Even now, a person's going to say, okay, they went to the mikveh, they dunked, and let's say we'll make it easy. They had pureness of thought for the sake of, taking away this impurity. And what happened? They went in, they come out. Is there any difference in their body? They look at their body, no difference. You tell me, okay, the spots went away, all these things went away, fine. But technically speaking, without all that, right? Well, we'll say by a woman who goes to the mikveh once a month or twice a month, whatever it is. So when she goes and she comes out, did her body change? Body didn't change physically. Physically, there's no change, right? It's a spiritual change, right? He's telling you over here that even though you went to the mikveh, even though you went to the ocean, whatever it is, nothing changed on the outside. You still look the same. Now, if I go, if I would go on Friday, let's say before Shabbos, I jump in, I go in, I dunk however many times, I shake my head, my hair's not going to move. Beautiful. Don't even need a brush, right? Stays the same. I look at my body. Did I change anything? Looks the same. Same white hair, same nose, same eyes, right? Same eyebrows, didn't cut them off, nothing happened, right? Came out the same. What's the difference? Externally, we're the same, right? Spiritually, it's a different issue. He says so too, is that even though a person purifies themselves by going to the mikveh, but nothing changes on the outside, so too, what about pureness of the soul? Pureness of the soul has the power to separate impurity, bad thoughts, and have a total effect and uproot it. And uproot this negativity in order to bring a person to purity. Right? And what purifies a person more than anything else? Torah. Words of Torah. That's what it does. Right? It purifies a person's thoughts, makes him pure, and makes his soul pure. Now, what's going on over here? He's telling you, you go into the mikveh, nothing external changed. Right? But once you come out, there's pureness of soul, right? That impurity is gone, right? It disappeared. Now he wants to say, okay, since we're a soul and a body, we're a hybrid of body and soul. So the soul itself, how's it going to get purity over here? So you're going to tell me, okay, however it works. However it works, person, goes to the mikvah, and that impurity, whatever it is taken off. Right? The impurity, speaking Lashon Hara, properly repented, that impurity is gone. That impurity is taken off. Now, he says, okay, now we're in a state of purity. How do we keep that soul pure? Right? How do we get rid of impure thoughts? Impure ideas? How do we separate ourselves from that? Because thoughts come in, they can come in randomly. Thoughts can come in because I think about it quite a bit, right? In other words, the more a person thinks about it, the worse it's going to be. Doesn't mean necessarily you act on it, but pureness of thought is going to uproot the negative thoughts. Not just because I will it, not just because I think pure thoughts, that's not enough, but it comes through learning Torah. Learning Torah, what that does is it purifies the mind, purifies our thoughts. Now, we live in a messed up world because we messed it up. We live in an impure world. By living in an impure world, how do we get rid of impurity? Torah, right? A little bit of Torah pushes away a lot of darkness, right? But you don't want to test yourself that way. You don't want to say, okay, I'm going to think certain things or I'm going to do certain things, but you know what? Torah's my antidote. Torah's the antidote to the Yetzer, right? The Gemara in Kedushin says God created the evil inclination and he also created an antidote. What is the antidote? Torah. But then the Gemara says, but if you didn't have heavenly help, the greatest antidote in the world is not going to help you overcome your evil inclination. Torah helps a lot. There's no question, right? It brings a person to purity of thoughts and it gets rid of extraneous thoughts, bad thoughts, etc. When does a person sin? Person only sins when nichnas by ruach shtus, as the Gemara says. When enters him a foolish thought, a foolish wave of thinking, whatever, however you want to translate it. He's basically a fool for sinning over here. Why? Because his mind is free from Torah. His mind is free from Torah thoughts. If his mind is free from Torah thoughts, then anything can go in. Any negative thing can go in, whatever it is. And the more we allow it to be there, the less we fight to get rid of it. It's harder, much, much harder, right? So Rebbe here says, you want to uproot negative thoughts. You want to bring yourself to proper knowledge. How are you going to get there? You're going to get there by learning words of Torah. You're going to get there by learning Musa. You're going to get there, by working hard, by working on our character traits. That's how you're going to get there. But if a person got too much free time and you're not using it for the right thing, so what's going to happen? Very simple. A person thinks other things. That's what a person does. Other thoughts will enter their mind and they won't necessarily be Torah thoughts. So they're going to say, as I mentioned last night in Pirkei Avos, a person going to say, but, what can I do? My brain is tired. My brain is fried over here. I can't learn anymore. I'm learning 10 hours. 8 hours, 4 hours, whatever it is. I need a break. I need to chill, right? So what's the answer? The answer is learn something lighter. Read Tanakh, read biographies of great rabbis, whatever. Learn something lighter. But see, once you leave your mind open, at least not till your brains fall on the floor, you leave your mind open, what happens? Other extraneous negative thoughts come in. That's what happens. Right? So our mind has to be constantly busy wherever we are. In Torah, person drives themselves to work, take the bus, take a train, whatever it is. So person goes, what are they listening to on the way? The person have an MP3, what are they listening to? Music? They're listening, not that music is necessarily so bad, but are they listening to the news? Or are they listening to Torah class? Right? You're going to say, how much can I gain? Right, I'm only there 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It's going to take 20 minutes, whatever, to get there. So what? Your mind should preoccupy with Torah. No question. Because if you let your mind be empty, what's your mind going to think about? Right? What's your mind going to think about? Your mind is going to think about things they shouldn't think about. Right? Now, someone here points out, okay, so if a person's tired to go to sleep, what if it's broad daylight? You're not tired enough that, it's nighttime. It's during the day, right? Could be the afternoon, could be early evening, right? But a person's not going to go to sleep at 8 o'clock at night, right? Just not going to happen. Depends on your schedule. But, a person, even if their mind is tired, right? But they're not ready to go to sleep. So they're not ready to go to sleep. What do? Right? That's the question, right? I mentioned also, I saw a study. I mentioned some Pirkei Avos last night as well. That I saw, a study. I didn't read the study. Someone who spoke about the study. That there was a study done many years ago at Tel Aviv University. That if a person, veggies their mind, however much they do, and they just, watch things, whatever things that are mindless, it can bring them closer to, they're much more susceptible potentially to dementia in all times. Now you're going to say, come on, what's the connection? Very simple connection. The connection is that your brain needs stimulation, needs constant stimulation. Now, if you fill it with things that, that you're not using it to think, we're not talking physics, brain surgery, this, that, but you're not using your mind. Like a mind's a terrible thing to waste. That was the commercial. That was the commercial in America many years ago to get people to, to read, to get them to read books. So I said, a few generations later, they just cut it shorter and they just said a mind's a terrible thing. Not the waste, it's just a terrible thing. A lot of people don't use their minds. They don't think, right? They're spoon-fed so many different things. They don't think themselves. Not going to say everybody, not going to say across the board, but a lot of people don't think, right? I don't think a lot of people think in general. But that being the case, if we don't use our minds, we don't constantly use our minds. Again, they have to rest. You have to sleep. That's true. Right? But at the same time, if we don't constantly use our minds, we're not constantly thinking, the mind can atrophy over time. Right? We mentioned someone's on their phone, as I heard a statistic a while ago, 4 hours a day. Now, I would like to think they're talking to other people, important conversations, or even not. Right? But if they're doing other things, watching things or this and that, they're wasting time. They're being passive, not active. Right? Even on time we're playing video games, whatever. Still, right? It's mind-numbing things. Now you got to think, you got to position, you got to this. It's mind-numbing things. If that is the case, then the mind can atrophy. The brain can atrophy. Now, is that a direct cause? They didn't say it was a direct cause. They said it could lead to that. There's evidence to show it could lead to that. Now, could people that have very high IQs and think a lot and this and that, couldn't they also get dementia? Couldn't they also get Alzheimer's? Sure. Right? They could also get it. But what we're saying over here is that the potential of a person doesn't use their brain, the brain is just goes to mush or mush, whatever you want to call it. Right? If it goes to mush, what's going to happen? That's what's going to happen eventually. Now you tell me maybe it won't happen to some people. Maybe it won't. Right? But what are we using our minds for? We're going to, the Chovos Levavos in Duties of the Heart says, in order to make a living, God gives you two options. One option will be that either a person has brains, God gave them a good head, so they'll be able to make money because they're smart, or relatively smart, let's say. Or he gave them brawn. He gave them strength. What does it mean he gave them strength? He gave them strength in order to do physical labor. Because if a person wasn't given brains, they don't, they're not so intelligent. Plenty of people out there are not so intelligent. Okay. Right? That's not a knock. It's just that's the way it is. So they'll do physical labor. But God's giving them an opportunity. If they don't have the brains, okay. So how are they going to make a living? How in the world are they going to make a living if God didn't give them a high IQ in order to figure things out? How are they going to make a living? Because he gave them brawn. If they don't have that ability, he gave them strength. He gave them power. Right? That's going to help them. That's certainly going to help them. So, question is what we do with it. What we use it for. And some people never use it for anything. They'll just, do stupid things, read stupid things, and, or whatever, and just go on in life. And they don't really we don't really maximize. I think I saw a statistic years ago. Person only maximizes like 3% of their brain. So, if that's true, we want to maximize as much as possible. But the point is, not to get lost, sidetracked, I can speak about this for the next 2 hours, right? But, not to get sidetracked, the point is that what does the person use their mind for? Right? If the mind is open and wasting time thinking about stupid things, then it's not thinking about Torah. And if it's not thinking about Torah, then sin creeps in. Because then you have all these extraneous thoughts, negative thoughts, etc. That's what happens. So, I've heard great rabbis say, no matter where a person goes, they should have a Torah question in their minds. So at least they're going somewhere thinking in Torah. Ramosha Schneider, my Rebbe's Rebbe, used to get the students, when they went to eat, they were, I think, where the yeshiva was, they had to walk past, I think, 12 houses, 12, 13 houses, something like that, in order to get to where they were eating their meals. So ingrained in them, how long does it take to walk 12 houses? A couple minutes, 5 minutes, let's say. I'm not saying you're running. I would say 5 minutes, 7 minutes. It's going to take. So he says in those 7 minutes, talk and learning. Don't waste time talking about other things. Right? Talk and learn. Because whatever's out there in the world, a friend of mine once said, if there's a war, I'll find out about it. But a lot of people are addicted to the news. They want to hear what's going on real time. You don't have to wait till the news at 11. You have to wait till the news at 6 or in the afternoon or whatever. We want information instantaneously. Right? Whatever goes on. Is it really that important? Someone will say, maybe it is. How many times a day a person check their email? A person got money in the stock market. How many times they check their, they check what's going on in the stock market when it's open. People have, they'll say I have different needs, different things, whatever. Right? But again, we're living in a world of fantasy. That's what it is. They can say what? Money is fantasy? Guarding your money is fantasy? No. It's not fantasy. You have to know how to use it. You have to know how to make it. You have to know how to spend it. Right? But, it's not everything. That's how people are defined today. Because when you meet somebody the first time, what's the first thing they ask you? What do you do? Like as if to say that's how we're defined. Oh, you're an accountant. Oh, you're a lawyer. Oh, you're this. Oh, you're that. No, I'm not that. That's just what the person does to make a living. But it doesn't define who they are. Certainly doesn't define who they are. Right? But we're living in an upside down world. Totally upside down world. These values don't really matter. Yeah, we have to make a living. We have to put bread on the table. Pay our bills. That's all true. Right? We're not saying not. That's all true. Right? But, again, what's the most important thing in life? The most important thing in life is learning Torah. How's the person going to get negative thoughts? How is a person going to get negative thoughts out of their head if they don't learn Torah? So someone will say, well, a person's not born and bred to learn Torah, 20 hours a day. True. Right? It's also true. But a person has fixed time to learn. That fixed time doesn't matter unless your house is on fire. You don't stop learning. You have fixed time to learn. Right? And you're only allowed to make a living, once you're done, whatever you're doing to make a living, that you should be learning. I got to spend time with family and different things. True. It's also true. You have to find a balance. Right? But how's the person, person going to stay? What's the word? How are they going to stay pureness of thoughts, pureness of mind if they don't constantly think in Torah? Because everything else out there is one heck of a distraction. You know what? We're going to get upstairs after 120 years and go, say, how come we didn't learn Torah? Say, what do you mean? I tried this, that, but I got distracted. A lot of things, a lot of fun things out there that distracted. God says, well, who do you think put these things in the world? I understand. The Ramchal says you're put in this world to strive. You're put in this world to work hard. That's what we're here for. That's what we're doing here. At the same time, the evil inclination says, okay, you're here to work hard. I'm going to distract you. Right? I'm going to make sure you get distracted so you don't work so hard until. So you don't reach your potential. So you get zapped later. Does a good job. Right? Does a tremendous job. We have to work hard beating that out of us. And there are a lot of things that are enjoyable. We're not saying they're not enjoyable. Right? People enjoy entertainment. People enjoy music. People enjoy sport. Right? These are entertaining. No one's going to say they're not fun. No one's going to say they're not, they're not enjoyable over here. But the question is, we always ask. And we always have to ask, am I a better Jew or Jew wannabe or non-Jew by doing what I'm doing right now or not? Am I becoming closer to God or not closer to God? Now, someone will say, okay, so I understand there are lofty ideals by a Jew. I understand. So if I'm in Jew in training, okay, gotta, retrain, retrain my brain, squeegee my brain, as I would say. Gotta re-squeegee the brain. So what about non-Jews? What about Noahites? Does that apply to them? They have to sit and learn Torah all the time? No. They have to be the best non-Jews they can be? Sure. 100%. But I would say like this, even if these things don't apply, can they spend all their days watching football and all this other stuff? Sure. It's not forbidden for them. But I would say, as I mentioned many times, that there are going to be things that should be forbidden for a non-Jew because of a moral imperative. Now, you tell me a non-Jew does not have to reach, what a Jew does. Doesn't have the same obligations. 100%. They don't have the same obligations. Right? A lot of things that Jews have will never apply to non-Jews. Right? 100% will never apply. Fine. But again, let's ask the question. Is this beneficial to me? Spiritually or not? Now, someone will say, this has nothing to do with the Noahide laws. You're right. Man, I'm not going to disagree. It has nothing to do with the Noahide laws. My question is, does it make you a, better non-Jew in God's eyes? But you say it's permissible. There aren't any issues over here. They don't have an obligation to learn Torah, right? Let's say there's no, immoral things going on, all these different things. We'll knock out all the issues. So by then you say, let me enjoy, don't give me a hard time. Pass the popcorn, just be quiet, right? Why do I have to listen to this? So you say, but it's all fun, you're right. That's not my question. My question is, even if you had no obligation, maybe I would say, as a moral imperative, that is not going to bring you closer to God. That is not going to bring you closer to keeping your own mitzvahs. Not going to do it. Not only that, it can get you to take a number of steps backwards. But for goodness sakes, you're going to say, Rabbi, there's no obligation. You're grasping at straws. We're going to take away your rabbinic license. Okay. A lot of people probably want to do that. Right? But you're grasping at straws. There's nothing wrong. There's no issue over here for non-Jews. So let them watch. Better that they watch. Right? Why? Because then they won't cause other problems. Right? In the world. So good. So let them, keep busy, on the weekends, busy doing that. Fine. Keeps them out of trouble. Or it should keep them out of trouble. At least they won't give us a hard time. Okay. Right? But again, for them, that would be good. So it's a benefit for us. But for other people who are spiritually inclined, even though you tell me there's nothing wrong with it, so you tell me pureness of mind, pureness of soul, doesn't apply to a non-Jew in many ways. Right? It may not. But am I a better person, by watching it? And let's just say you're team one. So now you're jumping up and down for joy. You're number one, right? They won it all. Very good. So That made you a better non-Jew in God's eyes. You know, you had a little bit of a chaim, you had a schnapps. Say, wow, beautiful thing. You know, team won it. They won it last year, the year before, whatever. Tremendous thing. Did it make me a better person? Did I get any good values from this? Now, people could argue. Maybe there are some good values. Maybe. Right? But in the end, what are we talking about over here? We're talking about separating from immorality, from impurity, from all these things and uprooting it through words of Torah. Now, I guarantee non-Jews certainly probably not living in Victorian England by any stretch. So we all have what to work on. You know, we all have bad character traits we have to work on, some more, some less, you know, whatever it is. So I would say that when a person comes and they have this realization and they say, you know what, idolatry is out. I'm gonna keep these laws, whatever. You know, these no hide laws. But then they find out, what about moral issues? Aren't there moral issues? You know, as well that, you know, maybe a non-Jew's not going to get the death penalty for it, but, you know, it's what I would call a moral imperative. So we all have what to work on. Right? Would a non-Jew want to purify their thoughts also? Not be part of that world, separate from that world, so to speak. See, that's the difference between us and the Christians. Christians say that world is bad and that's it. Right? So we say, you know, the world may be corrupted by man, but we have the ability to sanctify. We have that ability to sanctify. So can we get caught up in all of it? Yeah, we could. Is it going to have a negative effect? 100%. It'll have a negative effect. But if I use a little bit of light, I use a little bit of Torah, that's going to push away this darkness. But it has to be constant. It can't be flippant. You know, I have to make boundaries, which, you know, secular Jews can't stand. Doesn't say anywhere in the Torah this. Doesn't say anywhere this, that. Okay, you want to listen to the rabbis? You don't want to listen to the rabbis. They don't want boundaries. People don't want boundaries. They want to be able to do whatever they do. That's what they want. No one's interested in anything else. Don't tell me what to do. I won't tell you what to do. You know, okay. You know, so what? But what type of world do we want to live in? Right? It doesn't matter what other people do per se. It's what we do. It's our actions. And our actions have an effect. Have an effect on the world. You know, if a Jew goes to the post office, standing in line patiently, you know, helps somebody out, someone says, wow, thank God, you know, his father taught him Torah. Thank God his Rebbe taught him Torah. You do one little thing wrong, you know, as a Jew, and they say, oh, all Jews this, all Jews that. You know why? Because all Jews are interrelated. Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh. Right? You never say this by an Italian in Brooklyn who does something. You say, okay, no more pizza. No more cannoli. It's going to burn the Italian flag. Never happened. We're all intertwined. So we're our own worst enemy. We have to put our best foot forward. There are some unscrupulous people that make us look bad. True. You know, it's also true. And the secular could use any little thing against us. You know, we can't say anything back in general. True. That doesn't matter. What matters is what we do. What matters is how others perceive us. And we can break down barriers. We have the ability to break down barriers. Now, I'm not going to say it's an easy thing because the odds are pretty much stacked against us. But, you know, I have caught people saying things, you know, derogatory against the Orthodox community. You know, and I mentioned tongue in cheek, by the way, I'm also part of that Orthodox community. So I said, so while you're saying a racist thing against all Orthodox Jews, you included me in that as well. No, I didn't mean you. It's just other people. Yeah, but when they say other people, they include everybody. It doesn't happen by anybody else. So we have to be squeaky clean, no matter what we do, right? It's how we are perceived. Now you're going to say, come on, you know, when it comes to external and how people perceive us and whatever, you're right. I'll be the first to say externals in a lot of ways don't mean anything. They don't mean anything. How you dress, etc. I mean, I'm not going to say it doesn't mean anything, right? We want to dress a certain way, have a certain uniform, we want to live in a certain community, whatever it is, but yeah, I'll give an example by dress. So imagine someone goes out and there's a spot on their shirt. Then they go back to change, whatever, try and wash it off, but there's a spot, or, maybe a few spots, whatever it is. Or a person looks unkempt. That's a nice, good SAT word, right? Unkempt. The beard's all over the place. And they never comb their hair, which I never have a problem with. Whatever, they're just unkempt. They look like a slob, right? Schlump, we'll say in Yiddish. They look like a slob over here. And what's the person going to say? Because the person looks like a visible Orthodox Jew. And they're going to say, look at how they dress. They're going to say, look at, look at that shirt. It's got spots. How can they dress like that in public? Now, if a secular person did that, no one's going to say anything. Not at all. So why are they going to single out us? Because they're looking for something. Oh, you think you're so good? You're the people of the book. You're supposed to keep God's law. Well, look at this. I've heard this a number of times, right? I tell people, I said, you got to be careful what you watch. Because as the famous story goes, if dog bites man, it's not a story, not a headline. If man bites dog, that's a headline because it's out of the norm. Now, we are in the spotlight more than ever. And if people get caught doing different things, we've spoken about this before. We look really bad. And, and I'm not talking about circumstantial evidence, other things. It's something someone did that was wrong. That was outright wrong. So they'll say, see, they don't even follow their own rules, right? Let's say, by the way, people drive. You see people driving like maniacs, going much faster than the speed limit. I mean, much faster, let's say 15 miles above the speed limit, 20 miles above the speed limit, in a residential area. I'm not talking about on the highway. Highway is a different issue, right? And they see people like cut, they're weaving in and out, cutting people off, and the person looks like a visible Orthodox Jew. I'm not going to tell anyone to do that. If a person does it, make sure you don't look like an Orthodox Jew. Because then someone's going to say, see, look what they do. Look how they drive. They're putting people's lives in danger. So it could be one person. Probably a lot of people. But let's say it's one person makes everybody else look bad. Now, if other people drive according to the speed limit and they do what they're supposed to do, did that negativity fall away from this other person? No. Still there. Right? And even if everyone else would act in the proper way, see, look what this person did. He's going to single out this person. He's going to make everyone else look bad. You're going to say, but that's his fault. That's his problem. Why do I have to worry about that? And the issue is we have to worry about ourselves. That's what we have to worry about. We have to worry about being the best we can be. Without, God forbid, making a desecration of God's name. By doing what we need to do. Now, other people may do the wrong thing. True. They may make us look bad. True. But it doesn't matter. We still have to, just because someone did something wrong doesn't mean I have the right to do it also. Even if I don't get caught. Two wrongs don't make it right. So, but it just makes us look bad. And the damage is already done. Right? And even if there's an apology, imagine that. The Holy New York Times, libel somebody, says something negative, whatever, and they have to apologize. It'll be on page 250. You need bifocals in order to read it. Damage is already done. Even if they apologize, doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Damage done. So we can't worry necessarily what other people do. When we get upstairs after 120 years, God's not going to ask us, why weren't you like this person? Why weren't you like that person? He's going to say, why weren't you like, why weren't you responsible and reaching your potential for your soul, not someone else's? Right? There's no comparison over here. No comparison. I've heard somebody say, so someone asks, what do the Christians say? They say that this world is evil. And what do we say? We say that this world may be corrupted by man, but we have the opportunity to sanctify this world. They claim everything's bad. Everything is evil. Man is evil. Right? Many things that are bad. We don't, we may say that, the world, we've imperfected it. We've made it problematic in this world, not God. But we have the ability to sanctify it. We have the ability by keeping Shabbos, by keeping the holidays, by making blessings. Right? Christians don't say that. They don't say that at all, just the opposite. Right? That was my that was my point. But a person's not going to get upstairs after 120 years and God's going to say, hey, you didn't reach so-and-so's potential. We don't care about so-and-so. Doesn't matter. We have to reach our own potential. So I heard somebody say, and again, I'll bring out things that, boggle the mind in a certain way, that truth is always greater than fiction. And what did somebody say? Somebody said, well, this Orthodox Jew did this. Let's say the person committed fraud. Let's say they went to jail. So I didn't commit fraud. I don't do that. And he's supposed to uphold what the Torah says. And if he doesn't do it, then I'm okay. Now, what's the simple answer we would say to somebody like that? We say it doesn't matter what this other person did. What this other person did was wrong. He got punished, went to jail, and that's it. He did what he wasn't supposed to do. Fine. Just because that person didn't do what they were supposed to do, what does that have to do with you? That has nothing to do with you. It's irrelevant what other people do. I have to do what I need to do in God's eyes. We're going to have to answer for ourselves. I have to answer for somebody. What someone else did? Certainly not. I have enough trouble answering for myself. But at the same time, God's not going to say, why weren't you like X, Y, or Z? Why didn't you reach this potential over here? He's not going to ask you that. He's going to ask you according to your own potential. Why didn't you reach it? That's a different issue. And you're going to have to answer. Right? That soul is going to have to answer what it did and why it did what it did, and then pay the consequences. But you're not going to say, no one in their right mind is going to say, well, this person did this. I didn't do that, so I'm okay. Who says you're okay? Well, what does that have to do with anything? That has nothing to do with anything. You're right. You didn't do that. What about all the other terrible things you've done? And, I could say, oh, this Orthodox Jew kept Shabbos properly. You don't keep Shabbos. He works very hard not speaking Lashon Hara. You don't do that. He keeps kosher. You don't. The list goes on. So you pick one thing. Right? I love how people cherry pick. They pick one thing. Oh, this person did this. I don't do that. I'm okay. What does that have to do with anything? It has nothing to do with anything. You have to reach whatever potential you have. We're not passing the buck. Right? There's no such thing over here as passing the buck. We have to answer for ourselves. Right? So over here, as my Rebbe says, you want to uproot these negative thoughts. Some people will say, that's what I think, that's the way it is, and that's it. Okay, they're not willing to work on themselves. They have no self-discipline. We're not talking about them. But here my Rebbe says, you want to uproot bad thoughts. You want to uproot bad habits, learn Torah. Now, that means it's going to be easy? No, he didn't say that. What he said over here is that to uproot bad thoughts, that it should bring you to a certain level of knowledge, to want to go in the right way, that only comes by learning Torah. That's it. That purifies a person's thoughts, that'll purify a person's actions, and that'll purify his soul. There's nothing else. But if a person leaves their mind open till their brains fall on the floor, they leave their mind open, and now it's susceptible to sin, it's susceptible to doing the wrong thing, then the mind becomes a conduit, or the heart becomes a conduit to desire. That's all it is. And the more a person acts on these things, the harder it is to fight. Just like, you ask anyone that ever smokes. Yeah, I could quit anytime. Okay, let's see. I don't want to right now, but whatever. Why is it so hard for a smoker to quit? Very simple, because there's nicotine. Nicotine's addictive. Makes it a lot harder to stop. Right? But if a person, has certain desires, whatever they are, but they keep going over and over and over, doing the same things, sometimes more, sometimes less, it becomes a part of you, it becomes that much more difficult to fight. So you're going to say, but, I worked on it and I got stuck with this, or I got stuck with that, or something else. Well, what did you think? The evil inclination doesn't stop here. It doesn't stop for anything. If you beat him in one way, he comes a different way. If you beat him that way, he comes through a different way. It doesn't stop. It's not interested in stopping over here. So if our mind, so the point here is, if our mind is free from Torah, if it's free from Torah thoughts, anything can happen. Not just anything, negative things will happen. That's exactly what will happen. But you'll say, okay, I have a certain amount of time to learn. The other time I'm working, doing other things, fine. But you have to be careful. You have to be careful with people you work with. Right? There are a lot of unscrupulous people. Jews or non-Jews. They can speak Lashon Hara, they could curse, they can do all kinds of things. That has an effect. All right, someone asked me this recently. How do you stay away from such a thing? It's very hard. Because if you're on a group of people and they're all cursing and doing this and doing that, better you sit there, look like an idiot, than say anything. And if they speak Lashon Hara, God forbid, you try and change the subject. Can't change the subject, try and walk away. You can't walk away. You can't take what they say at face value. You're not allowed to believe it. You're allowed to, if it's something that potentially is dangerous, you could guard yourself against it, but you can't believe it 100%. Otherwise, you're over Torah prohibition, or many Torah prohibitions of accepting Lashon Hara. But you say this is the way of the world. This is what goes on in the workplace. I don't disagree. All right. So, even if a person's working, right, their halach is guarding what you see, guarding what you say, guarding what you do. You got to be careful. You're going to say, but I have to concentrate. I can't think Torah thoughts. Okay. Right. But that doesn't mean Torah goes out the window. That doesn't mean if I'm eating something, I don't make a blessing on it. That doesn't mean all other values, okay, I'm working, everything goes. That's not going to fly over here. Because God says, I understand, you have to put bread on the table, so you're working. Very good. I'm helping you with this. But at the same time, that does not mean, you are uprooting any mitzvah that you could do while you're working. Not only that, staying away from transgression. So that's not going to be easy. Right? Work environments, person try and find, work environments more conducive to Torah mitzvah. Sometimes it's hard. A person can, raise themselves, work for a company, whatever. And some of the people there, or let's say a lot of the people there, they talk, they this, they that. Doesn't matter how intelligent they are. No matter what their IQ is. Most people gossip. That's what they do. Talk about others, news talk radio, sports talk radio, all these things. Right? That's what it is. I'm not saying 100% of the time, but a lot of the time. Because they're not even aware anything, these things are forbidden. So now, person, that type of environment, you say, well, it's hard to separate myself from these people. I get it. Right? I definitely understand. But again, what they say, you can't believe if it's Lashon Hara. Right? There are mitzvahs governing what I'm allowed to say, what I'm not allowed to say. But it doesn't mean there's no free pass over here. There's no free lunch. There's no such thing as, okay, I'm going to uproot all the mitzvahs just because I have to work here. Who says? That means your thoughts you have to work on. That means your actions you have to work on. Your character traits you have to work on. Yeah, a person might be in a crummy environment. When it comes to Judaism, might be a crummy environment. I get it. But a person can make it work, by, tuning a lot of things out, if possible. But you'll say it's hard because, you really believe strongly. You can't stand now hearing people curse makes sense. But one thing you can say is, thank God I don't do that, or at least not as often. And you're making a concentrated effort. Now this is a tremendous thing. It's a tremendous thing because now you're more aware. Now you have a higher awareness. By having a higher awareness, that's already spiritual growth. A person may say, well, I'm not really on that high of a level, whatever. It doesn't matter. Because before all these classes, a person learned, they didn't think there's anything wrong. They didn't think cursing was really such a big deal. Everybody curses. Everybody speaks Lashon or speaks badly against us. So what's the big deal? Right? But now you got a higher awareness. Now you understand what God wants from you. It's a whole different world. It's a whole different way of looking at this. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. I mean, it's going to be easy by any stretch. But at the same time, I think, when a person has that higher awareness, in some ways, instead of saying, oh, I can't believe this person said that, can't believe they're talking like that, a person can build themselves up and say, thank God I don't speak like that. And have a resolve to not speak like that. And to work hard not to do that. You can look at it in the positive also. You're right, there's a lot of negative. That's true. Right? It might be more negative than positive. But if a person is able to look at something positive here, and this is not what they do, and that's not what they're interested in doing, and it could be depressing also. It could be, in a certain way, because you're around all these people that they're saying what they want, they do what they want, and they're just, in many ways disgusting people, which, as I mentioned again last night in my class in Pirkei Avos, a person can be just an animal. They have a soul. They have other aspects of the soul, but they don't act on them. They just do what they want. They act like animals, live like animals, die like animals. They may be over intelligent animals, whatever, but essentially that's what they are. If I would have heard this, a long time ago, I was like, what? What are you talking about? It sounds like fanaticism 101 or 101A. Person's got to say, come on, I used to be part of that world, or I'm still part of that world, to whatever extent. That means I'm an animal. Like how dare you call me an animal? Okay, so what does it mean? What it means is, as we said before, if a person is drawing themselves close to God, they're going in the right direction. Right? He gives us a blueprint, he gives us a standard. The person's going in the right direction. If they go against what God says, or they don't care what God says, let's say, God forbid, they take 3 steps backwards. So most of us were in this situation way back when. And we would say, what do you mean? This is the way people talk. Get over it. So what if people curse a little bit? So what? People spend hours, watching movies and sporting events and other things. So what? Why, what do you care? Why is it your problem? You're right, it's not my problem. It's not my problem. But a person grew up that way. And now they understand. Now they understand what godliness is. Now they understand what mitzvahs are. Now they understand what it means to draw close. So what was the person doing before? They're just doing whatever they were doing. They were living. Right? They were enjoying life, having fun. I mean, not everything is fun, but whatever. Enjoying life. Not thinking about things. Not being too heavy. But just enjoying. Because I can hear in the back of my mind, I can hear family members saying, come on. You also grew up in that world. You also didn't think there was anything wrong. You exemplified that world. True. 100% true. But now looking back, we can easily cry for days and say, what were we thinking? That's not reality. You'll say, so people say, come on, it's about family, about having children, about going out to eat. It's about having fun. It's about enjoying life. You're not enjoying life. I don't see why someone would say that, right? But why would they say that? They would say, oh, I get all these restrictions. That's not enjoyable. Oh, but it's benefiting me. It's benefiting the world. It's building my spiritual soul. It's making me to a better person. working on bad character traits, right? Working on bad character traits. So how many people, I mean, I take a survey, I'd be probably shocked to see what the statistics would be. But I take a survey and ask any secular Jew or non-Jew. And I would ask them, are there any bad character traits that you have that, you spent a long time working on, or you spent any time working on? Now, I would think, and I can be totally wrong here, so you can take this with a grain of salt. I would think, first of all, most people don't talk this way. And growing up in the secular world and growing up among adults when I was a kid, never ever heard this. That could be, wasn't conversation from my own ears, so it could be. But, working on bad character traits, reading books about anger, other things. So I would say, Kaufman's language, lo haya v'lo nivra, never was and never will be. Now, that's a little bit extreme, someone's going to say. What do you mean? Nobody works on themselves in general. Unless something is really egregious and they have potential to lose a lot, yeah, then maybe they'll work on things, or maybe not. Right? Or maybe not. Some people may pass the buck and say, nothing wrong with me. You have the issue. Right? You work on what you need to, I'm good. Nobody's got anything to work on. I've heard some people, you put them in a corner, and you say, by the way, I think this and that because of things you've said and done. Now, they may agree. I had this a couple years ago. Made a comment to somebody and they agreed. They 100% agreed. They said, you're 100% right. Didn't change anything. It was a step in the right direction. At least that they admitted, you're right. That's very true. That 100% is true. But it didn't change anything. A little bit aggravating, but okay. It's a step in the right direction. I don't think it's ever going to change, but okay. It was a big, huge thing. Other people would say, just deal with it. Just move on. So what if this was, so what if I said this? So what if I did this? Then I want to admit they've done anything wrong. God forbid. But to say they're working on bad character traits, saying that they want to change and they want to be better people, I don't know. According to me, I've never seen it, except in religious context. I've never seen it in the secular world. I'm not saying it doesn't exist 100%, right? I did say that, but maybe there are some people out there in the secular world that, but they don't talk that way. I haven't found too many people talk that way. And a person uses foul language, say, could you please not curse? And they'll curse again, just to spite you, because they don't care. They don't think there's anything wrong with it. So many things people don't see anything wrong with. That's the idea being that they don't think there are any issues, unless maybe it's something egregious. Maybe it's something egregious. Maybe then they'll admit it, or they won't, or maybe, like someone said to me, in a backwards kind of way, they say, suck it up. They didn't say that language, but they deal with it. This is the way it is. That's the way it is. That's not an apology. That's not admitting you've done something wrong. And I'm not going to say what it was, but it was something pretty egregious. Pretty darn egregious. So, to say someone's going to work on bad character traits, I don't know, maybe some people will admit it. They say, I could work on this. I could work on that. Not that they will, but, maybe someone down the line will admit. I'm just saying people don't use that language. Not only don't they use the language, but again, I've never seen it. I've never heard people talk about it, in the secular world. Unless there was something, someone says, someone will say, I got this real serious problem, whatever it is, that they want to work on, they have to get help with, et cetera. And I haven't seen that too much either. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. That for sure exists. But in general, just to be a better person, to get angry a little bit less, to do more acts of loving kindness. Oh no. I for sure have never heard it. Now people could disagree. They can say, I've heard people talk that way. I've heard Bible thumpers talk that way. Could be. Maybe we'll give them a little bit of credit. But in the secular world, they'll turn it around. They'll say, you're this, you're that. Who are you to come to say this about me, blah, blah, blah. What if it's true? What if it's true? So I would say, just admit it. And that's it. I don't, I had somebody that, for a while, I just kept telling them the same thing. Just, if you admit you pick and choose, I don't have any issues. I mean, I have some issues. But at least just admit. And don't say, well, I just don't believe this. Okay, I don't care if you believe it or not. You pick and choose. You never looked into it. You don't want to be inconvenienced. That's what I said. I want to hear the words, I don't want to be inconvenienced. And that's why I don't keep very much. So I said, you want me to say the words? I said, yeah, because that's what I believe is true. And it is true. I don't think there's any question. That is true. Well, it's not about, I thought about this, I thought about that, I thought about the other thing. None of that. Rubbish, as the English would say. So based on that, Halavai, people say, I made a mistake. Sometimes they'll admit it only because they got caught. Only because they lost a big payday or something like that. But deep down, when they've done it again, probably would have done it again. Right? It very well be. There are people out there, again, I'm not going to say no. There are people out there, who wanted to work on themselves. I just don't think it's a lot of people. I don't think it's a very high, very high percentage. I could be wrong. But I stand by what I say. I don't, I haven't seen it. So you say watch because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Okay, but if you tell me it's 5% of the population, I'd be shocked. I don't even think it's that high. But I'm not saying people don't, there's nobody. I can't say there's nobody because someone will prove me wrong. And say, no, I'm like that. So there'll be a lot of people maybe. But I don't, in the bigger scheme of things, I don't think it's a big percentage. Right? What's the purpose of Torah mitzvahs? Let's ask the question. What's the purpose of Torah mitzvahs? It's to make us better people. It's to make us closer to God, to do what he says, even by non-Jews, whatever they have to keep. So therefore, I have to have a balance. And I have to keep out anything that's going to be bad for me, spiritual. And if I don't do that, I'm a recipe for disaster. Right? It's going to happen. You're going to think certain things, do certain things, and it's just going to be a cycle. It's just going to be a vicious cycle. It's like being one of those bad Nightmare on Elm Street movies, Freddy Krueger. You're in this dream, you can't get out of the dream. You're going around, around, around in circles. You don't get out of it. And there are people that live with certain things, they never change for the rest of their lives. They just don't. They're not interested in doing the work. It's hard work. I didn't say it was easy, it's hard work. At the end of the day, people will say, they'll justify what they do also. Right? They'll say, why are you so sensitive? What do you mean, why am I so sensitive? You just made a very underhanded comment. Not about sensitivity. It's just below the belt comments. Oh, I was just kidding. Yeah, people say that when you catch them. They might say, no, I was just kidding. I didn't really mean it. Right? We know what that means. So, people working on themselves. The whole purpose, as we said, is being close to God. And people a lot of times do not care what they do. They don't care if they cut you off. They don't care if you're flying the wall. They don't care if they bump into you. Yeah, they may say, excuse me, but people just don't care in general. And as a Jew or a Jew wannabe, everything we do is significant. Everything we do is significant. And the reason is very simple, because Jewish people are light into nations. And if we're light into the nations, we got to be squeaky clean. We do not want to give anybody the right to say, oh, Jews did this, Jews did that, Jews did the other thing. Make everybody look bad. We don't want to give them, we don't want to give them any, any way to be able to dig at us. But you'll say, come on. There are a lot of things out there that people may do because of externals. Okay. I understand. I'm not necessarily a big fan of externals. But at the end of the day, who says I have a right to push in line? Who says I have a right to bump into someone, not say, excuse me? Who says I have the right to cut somebody off because you're driving like a maniac? I don't care if you're in a rush or not. What difference does it make? All that does is make us look worse. That's all it does. Right? That's all it does. And I think the vast majority of people only care about themselves. They, themselves, and themselves. All three of them. Civil complex. That's what they care about. They don't care about anything else. Maybe they'll care about family, maybe a few other things. But the reality is they don't care about you. That's for sure not. Right? It always bothered me. When I was younger. You walk into a store and someone come up to greet you and say, hey, hi, can I help you? I'm like, you really want to help me? Or you want to help make the store make money? Like, what if I drop dead? Would you care? Would you care if I died or not? So like, that's overthinking, in a certain way. They're like, really? Is that really what you thought about? Yeah, it bothered me. I remember I once went into a store. I think it was a Home Depot. I could be wrong. But I think it was a Home Depot. And I walk in the store and three guys come. They say, I'm Bob, Jim, Fred. What can we help you with? I'm like, Bob, Jim, Fred. Like, oh, I need batteries. Oh, batteries, aisle number one, this, that, whatever it was. And I sat there like, okay, nice to be, customer service, it's worth something. Doesn't exist in this country, in Israel, but, customer service is worth something. Treating clientele properly, so they'll buy things in your store. I get it. Right? But that's externals. Hi, how are you? Do you really care? Right? Say that to somebody. See what their reaction is. You'll catch them totally off guard. Why are they saying it? That's what they say. The work in a store, we understand why. It's part of, being friendly and whatever. But practically speaking, do they really care? Of course they don't care. They want the store to make money. They want to have a job. Fine. Right? But when I was younger, that just bothered me. It bugged me to no end. People were so superficial. And, there's a lot of superficiality out there. Right? You walk into a store in Israel, it's like, what are you doing here? Oh, nothing. I was just checking out the air. Oh, well, get out. If you're going to buy something, buy something. Like, that's customer service. Right? Different type of customer service. So, but when I was younger, I couldn't understand. It's all fake. It's one thing. It's just like really bothered me. Why are people so fake? Well, you don't really know them. You got to get a chance to know them. Blah blah blah. But there are a lot of superficial people out there. That's the bottom line. There's a lot of superficiality out there, and a lot of people like it. Fine. I couldn't stand it. My wife couldn't stand it. It's just it's all fake. It's all fake. Again, I understand where it comes from. I understand the mindset. Doesn't mean I liked it, by any stretch. And it made me think, why do people act this way? Why can you have people that are very intelligent act like animals? These things got me to think and say, wait a minute. I don't think intelligence breeds morality. That's basically the conclusion I came to. Because I saw kids in my high school, doing drugs, getting drunk, on the weekends, going to parties, this, that. And, these are people probably more intelligent than me, some of them. Okay. But what are you using your brains for? They're going to say, come on, it's fun, it's this, it's that, whatever. Judaism, again, is about doing things. It's about action. It's about taking care of our bodies, taking care of the soul, and uprooting bad character traits. That's what it is. Right? That's exactly what it is. Everything else, why does the person do what they do? You say, we're getting pretty philosophical here. What do you mean? I mean, why do I do what I do? I do what I do because that's what I do. And that's what I believe. Okay, why do you believe that, though? Why do you believe this is morally correct or not? I'm not getting in this conversation with you. Anyone ever tell you that? I've heard it a number of times. We're not having this conversation. I just asked the question. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. Why you think this is morally okay? Why in general this is okay? They won't have that conversation because they know where it's going to go. So either we're in this world going in the right direction or not going in the right direction. But if we're not going in the right direction, we want to purify our minds, purify our thoughts. The only way to do it is through Torah, nothing else. Yeah, someone has a question here. 1 second here. Someone asks, why is it you writing articles about the Muslim olive crops? Jews are stealing the olive crop and hatching trees. Why do people, maybe it's newsworthy. That Jews are stealing olives. Let's say it's true. Didn't see the article, but whatever, we'll take it at face value. Well, it's newsworthy, right? Imagine if you said Muslims were stealing, Arabs were stealing from Jews, that's almost racist, right? If you were to say today that most thieves in Israel are Arabs, people would, tie you up. Oh, you can't say that. Well, it's true. Statistically, it's more than true. I'm not saying there aren't Jews that aren't thieves. There are plenty of Jews that are thieves also, right? The vast majority of thieves, ask anybody. Ask anybody. It's Arabs. I'm not saying every single Arab is dishonest, right? But, statistically, that's the case where, most people steal. I shouldn't say most, whatever. More Arabs steal than Jews. No question. So why are they bringing this up? Because they want to make Jews look bad? It's newsworthy, right? If Arabs chop down, that'd also be newsworthy, right? Wouldn't that be newsworthy? There's a forest of trees were burnt down, most likely done by Arabs, right? Most likely it was arson, and they find out, let's just say it was Arabs who've done it. It's also newsworthy, right? They're going to say, why would they put that on their site? Because hundreds of dunams of land were burned to the ground. It's newsworthy. Why would they say Jews are stealing crops? It's newsworthy. Right? Probably not that common. You have Jews stealing from non-Jews, from Muslims, from Arabs, whatever. I mean, that's what I would say about that. Someone asks, did people in high school grow up and get better, or they still acting as teens? So I would say, I would hope that wouldn't be the case. I would say that probably a lot of people, at some level of maturity, from high school. I do know someone, I do know of a doctor, a GP, general practitioner, went to a doctor's conference, wherever it was. And, a bunch of doctors got together and they're all smoking weed. They're all smoking marijuana. Right, tell me, maybe they just want to relax. They would, maybe they're drinking beer also. Okay, nothing wrong necessarily having a casual beer, this, that, whatever it is. I would think doing drugs is a little bit more problematic. Oh, it's just to relax, no big deal. It's not addictive, blah, blah, blah. We can go through all that. But, I got people that I will say, let's say 9 years older than me, 10 years older than me, that, they're still probably as much into sports as they used to be, I would say, maybe a little bit less, but, are they doing the same things they were doing younger? A number of them. I don't think that's changed. Maybe some of their morals maybe have changed, etc. I would like to think people are not acting the same way as they did when they were in high school, right? That they are more mature. I would like to think that, but if you see how they live their lives, and we mentioned people live like animals, they die like animals, right? Don't care. A little more philosophically inclined, not philosophically inclined, doesn't matter, right? Pretty much they're doing the same stupid things they did before. Maybe not to the same extent, but I don't think I'm that far off. It depends what type of communities, what type of people, where they went, what they've done. Could be a number of different, a number of different factors. The people really grow up. I would hope they do. I would sincerely hope they do. But what do people want in life in general? They want to be happy. Most people I would think want to be married or at least have a significant other, have kids, have a next generation, have a continuation, but at the same time, they could get together once a week and play cards. No other people do that. Get together, play mahjong, play canasta, play other things, fill up their days, fill up their nights, have a bowling night. Okay, does that mean they're doing the same stupid things? Are you the same? It's a social thing. And and that's how, that's how they get out. They meet, they see other people, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, does that mean they're doing the same things they did in high school? I wouldn't say exactly that. I'm not gonna be that shallow. Right. But I don't think it's that far off. We're gonna see. I mean, all you have to do, to see is to witness fans in a stadium, at a ball game, right? Whether it's any sport, doesn't matter, right? Basketball, football, hockey, soccer, whatever it is. And you see people there, could be freezing cold weather, and they're there yelling and screaming. They got their faces painted, who knows what, tailgating parties, it's a huge thing. Right, certainly by football, they have a whole, like smorgasbord before they go to the game. Oh yeah, am I gonna say everyone is dressed up? No, they're all covering their face with, paint or whatever. No, but see what they do, see how they act. It's idolatry in so many different ways. But you're gonna say, but you're not just looking at little kids. You're not just looking at teenagers. You're looking at adults, in the 20s, 30s, 40s, older, because that's what they're into. You got people, big into college football. They go every week to their alma mater or not. They're watching, who knows what. That's what they're into. Are they more into it now than they were? Could be, whatever it is. But you scan the stadium, 50,000 people, 40,000 people, whatever it is, it could be freezing cold, it could be boiling hot, And that's what they do. So you want to tell me it's exactly the same as what they did before? To a certain extent, I would hope they're a little bit more mature, but again, depends on a lot of different things. You go to the cheap seats of the ball game and see people getting sloshed, drinking beer after beer and who knows what. Well, isn't that what they did in high school? Probably. Some more, some less. I don't think it's that much different. I would hope it would be. College is just an extension, university is just an extension of high school, right? In many ways. Then a person works, okay. So even when they're younger, what are they doing? Go out after work, get together, do other things. So what's really different? Now they're just getting paid to do things and, whatever the case is. But aren't they going to ball games? Aren't they going to movies? Aren't they doing these other things? Aren't they doing whatever they're doing over the weekend? Of course. And that's no different. I don't think it's that much different. They're just older. They say it's different. They have families and whatever. That may be true. That may be true. But I don't think it changes that much. That's what I would. That's what I would say. I could speak to people. I could take up conversations with people, and you would think they were talking to my 15-year-old self. That's what they do. So what's changed? What's really changed? Say, no, come on. They've read more, they're more sophisticated, more life experience. That's all true. That may be all true. But deep down, they're really the same person. Someone told me a while ago, and a relative told me a while ago when I said something, oh, that's the person I remember when he was younger. Right? That's the person I remember when I was young. I'm the same person, same personality. It hasn't really changed. It's just I have a less bigger mouth now than I used to. But my whole mentality is different. Right? Now, someone says that's the same person. It's not the same person. Totally not the same person. But if someone says, use this as an example because we've used it before. If someone says, I don't need to change, I'm good. I'm good where I'm holding. That's not a Jewish concept. We're always moving. Either we're going up or going down. We're always striving. That's what we're doing. Right? That's what we're doing. We're going up or going down. We're not staying static. Staying static spiritually means it's akin to spiritual death. That's what it means. That we're not moving. Right? So again, I can have conversations with people. And I have over the years. And the conversation will be around whatever it is, thinking like, this is what I have an interest in. Thinking, oh, he's really the same person, just looks different. He just dresses different. You want me to speak sports? I could. You want me to speak about other things? I could. Is that who I am? Certainly not. But there are people that are into this, some more, some less. Doesn't change. Why doesn't it change? If someone's into sports, it never really gets out of your system. It's always there. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. Listen, everyone knows I grew up in Boston, so, for years, you got teams winning championships, contention for championships. It's a huge thing. You go to certain places and never won anything in years, in many years. Now, I'm not saying, being from a winning city really means anything. Right? But again, the effect it has on my life today than it used to, nothing compared. Not the same person. We shouldn't be the same person. Right? We don't want to be the same people we were yesterday or the day before. Nobody wants that. We want to grow. We want to grow spiritually. We'll make mistakes. We want to grow further. We want to fix things. We don't want to stay the same. But the problem is if you haven't been in contact with someone for so long, so then, what do you talk about? It's a little bit of a problem. You don't really have anything, in common. So you speak about, you speak about family, you speak about your kids, etc. I give an example. I give one example. I have a friend of mine that whatever, over many years, and since I was a teenager, and he's a lawyer. He's been a lawyer, whatever, for a long time. And he put on the Facebook page. There was where he works. where he works in Boston, there was a parade. You know, the last time, I think it was the last time or the time before, when the Patriots won the Super Bowl. So he took a picture of them going by, you know, and he said, "What a great lunch break! What a great lunch break!" You know, seeing these guys like scream on this boat or whatever, you know, as they're going by. The person has to be a big sports fan. Okay, you know, I get it. I mean, he's over 50 years old. Showing my age a little bit, right? Okay, I understand. You know, they won the championship. It's a big thing. You know, like, what are you, a little kid? You're taking a picture of them going by, you know, with the trophy. That, you know, you're a lawyer, aren't you? Isn't that how you define, you know, quote unquote, define yourself? You're a lawyer. You know, lawyers are into football. So what? It's a big deal. You know, what's the big deal? Now, to me, that's obvious. You know, it caught my eye. Why did it catch my eye? Because of the comment that was made. You know, the comment was, you know, I'm ad-libbing here, but basically the comment was, what a great lunch break, you know, to see them go by. What, you know, what an awesome thing to see. Or they would say in Boston, what a wicked awesome thing to see. What a wicked awesome thing to see. Okay. You know, it's a big thing. They won a championship. I once went, you know, when the Celtics won the championship, 1986. You know, so I went downtown, tens of thousands of people there. You know, whatever. But, you know, I'm not 16 years old anymore. Yeah, I'm not 18 years old anymore. You would think certain things, okay, maybe a person's going to grow out of it. You would think sports isn't one of them. Sports is the common denominator. And people just, you know, they're into it. So now someone's going to say, but, you know, are people really doing the same thing? Someone is in their, you know, almost mid-50s, you know, and gets excited, you know, and says, wow, such a tremendous thing, a surge of emotion, adrenaline, by seeing the Patriots go by with the Super Bowl trophy. Okay. Right? Now, way back when, I would have been into that also. And probably a number of years after that would have been into it. But this is 35 years later. This is 35 years later. Still a pretty cool thing. Diehard sports fan, I get it. Are they doing the same things they did before? A lot of times, yes. Like in the bigger scheme of things, does it really matter? No, of course it doesn't matter. It's stupid. It's a waste of time. It's a total waste of time, all of these things. There's no question. Am I a better person? I learned great midot, great character traits from these people? Certainly not. Right? And you say, oh, I you know, I love the way he throws a football. That's forbidden. Right? That's forbidden. If I would say, what a great, you know, player Larry Bird was, and you're giving a compliment to a non-Jew for how great he played, that's the rabbinic prohibition. The rabbinic prohibition. All the more so you follow it. You know, it's a great thing. Wow, made my day. Made my day seeing these guys go. You know, go on this boat, whatever it was. Tremendous. What did it do for Judaism? What did it do for your soul? Did it make you a better Jew? Did you ever say that about learning something in Torah? Wow, what a great thing. God, I can't believe Moses. Right? And you live in it. You're on that high. No, it's about football. It's about baseball. That's what's important. So they missed the whole point. You say it's addictive and it's fun. And you're right. But when's the last time a person got so excited about a Torah time? Or about a Torah class, except for my classes, right? You know, when someone say, oh, you know, can't wait, you know, he's going to give it to us, it's going to be great, this, that, that's what it should be. Stupid football game, soccer game, or as they would say, football, they call it soccer here, football, whatever. That's what's important. That really matter. Who cares? They win, they don't win. Does your life really change? So for me, a Boston sports team wins, I get another t-shirt, okay? That's worth something. Not going to say not. Right? It's worth something. Fine. More than that, that's what life's about. And you got people in the 40s, 50s, 60s, like, you know, diehards. Diehard. I once heard someone say, by a Yankee game, it was like late September. It's like, look at these people. Look at the people in the stands. 30,000 people. And it was like 5 degrees Celsius. It was like 40 degrees in rain. What intestinal fortitude. These fans. I'm like, bunch of idiots. Freezing. What are you doing in the rain watching the game? Go home, watch it on TV. No, it's intestinal fortitude. Look at the fans. They love their team. Give me a break. Get a life. Why is that so important? Why is that giving so much credibility? Why do people get excited about that more than Torah? Because it's distracting and it's fun and it's enjoyable. That's what it is. And people go off the rails with this stuff. I'm being generous here. Yeah, let me see if there are any questions here. Someone asked, how long does it take to become a rabbi? It takes a while. Yeah, it takes a while. You have to have a certain level of knowledge. That's true. You have to pass certain exams, but person has to be well versed. I would say they should be pretty well versed in Torah before they start doing it. I'm not saying it has to be a lifetime. But if you have someone, let's say, we'll make it easy. Let's say somebody, grew up religious. So they've been learning pretty much their whole lives. They'll learn after they're married. So let's say, their mid-20s, maybe if they can still continue to learn, eventually they want to go teach or whatever to get rabbinic ordination, they'll get it, in their mid-20s, late 20s, maybe early 30s, depending how long they can learn for. It could be a younger age, so to speak. Someone asked, what are the most credible institutions? I'll tell you like this. It doesn't really matter in certain ways, because even if a person gets rabbinic ordination from a proper institution, from, Torah Giants or whatever, I tell you places not to go. But I'm saying in the bigger scheme of things, rabbinic ordination doesn't really mean that much. It just means the person, passed certain exams, right? So yeah, they people like that deserve respect. No matter if they pass 1 exam, 3 exams, 4 exams, irrelevant. It's not the same rabbinic ordination we had, in the time of the temple. It's the only time in the Second Temple. A lot of people here want something certified properly. They'll go to the chief rabbinate, even though chief rabbinate, I wouldn't say has the greatest name here. We're other places that give rabbinical ordination. I mean, some rabbis give rabbinic ordination. Rav Zalman Yechemia Goldberg, blessed memory, used to give. He wanted a lot of people to have rabbinic ordination, so he would give people tests or whatever, until some unscrupulous people abused the privilege, so to speak. But he's no longer in this world. I mean, you had Torah Giants, you had Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, of blessed memory. You had others, that gave rabbinic ordination. I mean, today, the modern Orthodox world, people go to Yeshiva University, to get ordination. People, if you're Chabad, you go to Morristown, New Jersey, Crown Heights, get, rabbinic ordination. I don't know, the Rabbinical Council of America, I don't know if they give rabbinic ordination in the States. I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure. But, it should come from a credible place. And even if it does, you have to see where the person learned. You have to see who they learned under. Because just because the person may have proper, quote unquote, papers, it doesn't mean a whole lot unless you know who the rabbi is and who they're close to and who they ask their questions to. Right? That's what I would say. I would say that. Someone here points out a person grows up with sports from childhood forever. Yeah, I would agree. Very hard to break. Right? I think it's an addiction that's worse than cigarettes and other things. It's just it doesn't matter if your team is bad or not. You follow other teams, but it's something's hard to explain. It's something you never get out of your system. I heard Rebbe Brenther, blessed memory, once say, It would take an American his entire life to get the garbage of America out of their head. Their entire life. Forget about sports. He spoke about sports also a number of times. But yeah, someone there correctly points out it. Yeah, if a person's a sports fan, they're a sports fan for life. They never like sports, then they'll never be into it. Usually, that's probably true. It's opposite spectrums. If a person was into it, there, it's there. It's very hard to break. It's very hard to break. That would I agree. That would I agree. Someone points out, yeah, talking about it, yeah, that's what sports talks radio is all about. Why the manager do this? Why did he pull this player then? Why, this player should have done this, that's what they talk about. Right. Those sound stupid. But if a person was into sport, it's entertaining. Right. It can certainly be entertaining. You may agree, you may disagree. I remember once someone telling me a story that Bruce Jenner, now her name is Caitlyn, right? She had a sort of sex change, whatever. So the whole question, Bruce Jenner won the triathlon, whatever it was, in 1976, the Olympics. They put him on a box of Wheaties. Right? They put his picture on the box of Wheaties. And so there was a whole question. Bruce Jenner is now a woman. So since he's a woman, right? Sorry, did the decathlon. Let's say I made a mistake. He did the decathlon. So Bruce Jenner is now Caitlyn Jenner, right? He made himself a woman. Okay. I mean, whatever. We're not even going to go into that. But what was the question? What was the question? How stupid it is. What was the question? Maybe now he changed himself to be a woman. So now take him off the box of Wheaties. Take away his medals. Take away his medals. He's a woman now. Right? He's a she. So take away his medals. Why would we even entertain that question? Right? What's the simple answer? When he won the decathlon, was he a male or a female? He was a male. Pretty clear. Won it as a male. So now you want to say retroactively, 30 years later, 40 years later, no, we're going to take it away because now he's a female. Now he's a she. So someone told me that there's a whole talk. There was a whole talk about it. Should they take it away? Shouldn't take it away? The argument's a moot point. He was a he. Why are you going to take it away? Yeah, how can you take it away retroactively? You want to tell me steroids, other things? Okay. Should be in the Hall of Fame. Not in the Hall of Fame. That's a whole discussion. That's cheating. Fine. He didn't cheat over here. He was a man. He won fair and square. No one disagrees. Take him off the box of Wheaties. That's stupid. Right? You need to speak about something in talk radio, right? So, it gives people what to think about. But it's an interesting philosophical question, which really never gets off the ground. Right? So now if someone says, yeah, well, sounds pretty stupid when they talk about it. You're right. And who cares what the man should have done, They didn't do it. Nice second guess. They deserve to be back next year. He blew it. This person, underachieved. What are they going to do? It's all, that's what they're talking about. They talk about other sports that are going on, other sports that ended. What are they going to do in the interim? What are they going to do in the winter? Blah, blah, blah. What are they going to trade for? What do they need? Yeah. Sounds a little bit monotonous. But if you're into it, it's interesting. You see what people say, what their perspective is. Waste of time. Yeah, that's what I would. What do you call it? That's what I would say. But the point is, as someone points out correctly, if you're a part of it, you're always part of it at some level. At some level, it's there. It's something that sticks to you like glue. It's very, very hard, right? It's hard to explain. Someone's not in the sport. It's very hard to explain. Like what the power is. What the thrill is, so to speak. If you don't go to so many games, it doesn't matter. Right? It's hard to explain that someone's not really into sports. But anyway, I digress here. Any other questions? All right, if there are no other questions, I'm going to sign out. I do this every Sunday, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Israel time. Tanakh Talk, hopefully, I haven't got a confirmation yet, but I assume Tanakh Talk is going to be about an hour and a half, hour and 25 minutes. And then 2:30 Eastern time, 9:30 Israel time is going to start these classes, an introduction to the Noahide laws. So I'm going to be busy doing that as well. So the sign up, it's free. Sign up is on my Facebook page, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, or you can find it on Michael Chaim Kaufman. It's there as well. Anyone has any questions, again, find me on Facebook, or you can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RABBICHAIMCOFFMAN@gmail.com. Wishing everyone a good beginning of the day, end of the day, or